Hello everyone, it's Rosatal, and in today's video, I had the opportunity to sit with a trans escort to be fatally honest regarding her experiences of life and work. Disclaimer: I do not endorse entering the sex industry under any capacity. I strongly suggest that no one attempt to copy anything they've seen or heard in my videos. Furthermore, I do not necessarily agree with any of the opinions or stories told by my guests in my videos.
Hello, I'm Celine. I'm 48.
So I have a few questions for you. When did you first transition from being a man to a woman?
When I was 35.
Being a trans woman,
Yeah.
do you identify with being a woman?
I used to when I first transitioned because I went through that stage thinking, oh, I'm a woman, I am a woman, oh yes I am, I've got a female penis and everything. But as time has moved on, I've realised, no, of course I'm not. I never will be. I am what I am, a transsexual.
When you first transitioned, how
Yeah.
did you feel about it? Or how do you feel
At
when...
the time, I was totally in a different mind than I am now. I believed it would cure all whatever problems I had in life by living as a different gender.
Yeah.
But I just found it was a bit of an anticlimax because all the problems you had are still there, except you've got another problem to face, which is suddenly making yourself a minority and having to deal with all the stresses of that. So that makes it rather difficult.
Do you face any negative experience from daily life after transitioning?
When I first transitioned, I was working in a very male-dominated industry, and I worked for myself. So nobody wanted to deal with me because if you work for yourself, there's no discrimination laws against who wants to buy your product from you. It's down to them, isn't it? And people just didn't want to deal with me anymore. So thus I had to find something else to do for a living. So
how did you become a sex worker?
Put an advert in the paper and people rang me and I met them and had sex with them and they gave me money beforehand. Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So when did that started? Because you said that you were, is it after...
Well, before I transitioned, when I was in my 20s, I had a few girlfriends who wanted to get into sex work, so I helped them, and at the same time I became, just for fun, a transvestite escort, occasionally part-time as a hobby really. So then when I actually transitioned and my business, I couldn't run it anymore, I thought, what can I do? I don't want to get a normal job because I've never had one in my entire life. I always worked for myself. So I thought, sex work, I'll give it another try, and it was quite simple. I just fell into it, and yes. But to me, it's a job. It's a way of making money. It's a business. I could have done a million other things, but it wouldn't have been as well paid. To be honest, that's the main reason. I think that's the only reason most people get into sex work. There are some people who are desperate for money at the beginning and have no option whatsoever, who have been coerced into it. But in my experience of working with lots of escorts, they realise the money is really good and it gives them a lot of free time. But I do think that people's perception and sometimes their revulsion of sex work is not about the sex work itself. It's really, in reality, we're all encouraged in today's society to have sex with other people. That's accepted. We're also encouraged to have lots of money and buy all these nice things and keep the economy running along nicely. But you put the two together, you see a prostitute. You might say, oh, you're a prostitute, you sell your body for money. Well, everyone sells their time for money. You go to work, you sell your time to your employer. You sell the majority of your decent years of your life for money. That is your life. What a waste of a life. And if I had a choice, no, I wouldn't be doing what I was doing. I wouldn't be doing that at all, whatsoever. But sadly, because the system we've all accepted submissively from an early age, we have no choice but to do that. But in reality, if you look away and look up top of the system, you see how fucking sick it is. And looking at a prostitute, that is exactly it. That's the system in its rawest form.
I asked Celine if she believes that society's view on prostitutes negatively impacts how sex workers are treated by their potential clients.
Yeah, I think so. They don't realise that it's also a business. They don't realise when sometimes people ring me up and say, "Oh, it's my first time. I've never tried it before. Can I come along and try it for less? Because I might not like it." And I just say to them, "Listen." So I ask them, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, I'm a mechanic." "Oh, right, okay. So would you do your job for less then? Would you put the same quality of care into it? Would you ask your doctor if they can do a discount? Would you be a little bit scared that the job might not be as good?"
So why do you feel that people have that thought process?
Because all their life, all they've looked at is negative images of prostitutes. They were under this illusion that every prostitute is some stupid person who's addicted to drugs or alcohol and has no other choice in their life. And they like to think that because that's what they've been told. They have no experience of it. So they think we're all lesser beings, less intelligent, less motivated, less educated, everything like that. Because they're paying for us. No, they're paying for our time, but they're not paying for us. They're not buying our bodies. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it. Quite simply, I'll explain why I won't do it as well. And if a person can't accept that, then they can happily go and see someone else. It really isn't a problem.
How difficult it is for a transgender escort to get work or to find work versus a female escort?
I'd say it's a lot easier for women to find work because there's more people who want to have sex with women than there are who want to have sex with transsexuals. It's that simple.
It's demand and supply, basically.
Yeah. The difference might come in the fact that there were fewer transsexual escorts, but now there's so many transsexual escorts. They're on every corner. Well, not every corner, but there's lots. There's lots. There's ample amount. There's ample.
So, is your clientele base more often guys than women?
It's always guys. I've had couples, yeah. Quite a few couples. I think in all the time I've been doing it, I've had one woman turn up on her own to see me. Yeah.
Oh. What was that like, if you don't mind me asking?
It was very odd. She was a nurse. She was an African nurse, and she just wanted me to pound her mercifully for half an hour, and then she seemed quite happy and left.
What are the usual requests that you get from clients, since you're transgender and you have a male?
I have a penis.
Yeah, you have a penis.
I know, you're trying to be polite, but no, I have
you
a
have
penis. I do, yeah.
Yeah, so
just the one though.
So you have a penis, and what sort of activities happen during your work? Like, for example, is it more similar to gay escorts, where they...
Well, the only sex that a man can have with a transsexual, the actual sexual activity, this might shock some transsexuals, is gay. It's gay sex, because I have a penis and so do they, and they have a bottom and I have a bottom. So there's a certain amount of things you could. Oh, they've got a mouth and I've got a mouth.
Well, yeah.
So that's it really. Most guys start off wanting to be dominant. Some actually start off wanting to be dominant, but generally it ends up with them on their knees or on their back. That's generally the most common request is guys want to be fucked.
Other than that, have you ever gotten any bizarre requests in terms of your work?
Oh, loads of really odd, but because it's just become normalised, sickness has become normal. I think the funniest was a chap, really, really, really nice guy, nice looking, in his mid-30s. He turned up with a big, long, rolled up kind of mattress and a few bits and bobs, and I said, "What's that for?" He went, "Oh, you're going to be my mummy, you know, I'm going to be a baby." And he had this enormous changing mat. He brought his own nappies. I had to change him. I'd give him a bottle and a dummy, and it was so cute. Actually, it was really, really good. He was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I felt sorry for him because this is his sexual turn on, and I said it must be so difficult. And I felt very sorry for him because he was a lovely person. And it's just the fact that he had this fucking odd adult baby fetish. There's an 80-year-old man who comes to see me who wants, he's probably dead now. He used to come and see me, and he'd dress up as a schoolgirl. and he'd print out a little sheet of what the story had to be, and he had to be told off and chastised and that kind of thing. I've had a 96-year-old man who's wanted to be fisted, and there's nothing like fisting a 96-year-old man. I just wanted him to come so I could chat to him about the war, really, and find out his experiences with the Second World War.
Celine shares her closing statements. What sort of advice would you give to people who want to transition or is, thinking about it?
Think really deeply about it.
What are the sort of questions do you think they might want to ask themselves?
How do you think this is going to change your life? How can you imagine this? Can you imagine yourself like this in your 70s? Do you want to have a relationship with... Who do you want to have a relationship with? Because the person you're going to have a relationship with, I'm sorry to break people's illusions if you're a transsexual and you transition from male to female and you think you're going to settle down with a man and get married and whatever and adopt some children. That very, very, very rarely happens, and in my experience, I've never ever known that happen. Actually, once. Majority of times, no. Transsexuals live a really sad and lonely life because most guys, they want a relationship with a transsexual, but just only on their terms. They don't want to introduce you to their mum and dad, and they don't want to introduce you to their friends. They just want to have sex with you, maybe take you out for the odd meal miles away from where they live, or where anyone might know them, because they're quite paranoid about that. So, in reality, no, you're going to have a lonely life. If that's what you want, crack on.
Thank you for this interview.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I certainly found Celine's story to be very interesting. She gives a very raw account of her experiences, both in transitioning to a transgendered person as well as her life as a sex worker. If you're trans, what are your thoughts of her outlook on the world? If you are or ever have been a sex worker, do you identify with any of what she described? Please let me know any and all of your thoughts in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and ding the bell for notifications on my future content. It's been Fatally Honest. Ciao!